Welcome to another discussion video. I know, again I'm late to talk about this subject, but as perceived as still relevant through the many comments on other creators' videos, let me hop in and redress the balance. First of all, the big audience and reaction on this topic had been brought in by Zepla, who talks about many internal Final Fantasy XIV things, as well as its position compared to other games in the MMO sector. And yes, comedy is also a topic on her channel, so if you haven't fallen in love with her videos and presentation yet, check out the link found in the description and leave her a sub. Two other guys have also drawn out some insanely good points to this topic, so you should definitely check out Brian and Chris from Work to Game and listen to their opinion on the whole matter, and of course leave them a sub as well. But now to my personal view. What does it actually mean, you don't pay my sub? This refers to the freedom of choice every player has inside of their own space of playing a certain game in the way they like. And the term itself does link to the subscription fee every player of Final Fantasy or other subscription-based games has to pay to enjoy the service or arguably spread anger about it on the internet. This directly leads us to the first misconception and issue. While it is absolutely correct that you are paying for a service that allows you to harvest its gamery fruits in the way you like it and when you like it, Final Fantasy XIV still is and hopefully will ever be a multiplayer game. Which means whatever section you may explore, and due to the fact that each feature of the game is locked behind the completion of the main scenario quest, that will require you to participate in group content, you are forced into interaction with other players. That means if you don't work hard for getting down a certain boss, others may do so as well, which will result in a demotivating defeat and hinder the progress of all participants. While in this case all party members need to be blamed equally, things get even worse when there's a noticeable effort disparity, which is always the source for group chatted conflict and discussion. Therefore, don't use the subscription term as an argument. Players that are taking on content with you pay the same sub like you do, except they're paying for half a year in one turn. But nonetheless, to enjoy content in the way they like, they also need to take up the RNG game and will be thrown into content with 3 or more other people. That regardless of the role you queue for Duty Finder will require assistance of others. And if you're taking it super easy just because of not caring for the playstyle aspect of this game, you are blocking the group from clearing content. At least when you strictly refuse to execute the basic functionalities of the job you're attending with. No matter if the party can still manage to clear content without your assistance, it is still a bad thing and will create antipathy. If above all that, other players offer help and do it in a generous and polite manner while you still refuse to take the advice to your heart or work on your own idea of playing your job, casual elitism is created. Where you don't pay my sub is the most stupid excuse anybody can come up with, except something like I don't have hands while still being number 1 at jumping puzzles. But before this turns out as a reflection of a certain percentage of our community, let's be honest. I personally have never experienced a player that consistently refused to take up assistance and recommendations. May it be my politeness of telling them to be open for new rotations, to check out certain guides, or just replace spell X with another one at a specific time inside of the encounter. However, if others claim this to be happening, it could also be my old brain that just cannot remember so clearly anymore. Anyways, I want to point out that if you encounter that described situation, having someone that is willingly refusing a well-meant advice, that is being delivered politely and while being under the common perception of mentally healthy, casual elitism is created and the refuser is simply a dick. If then this person also reports you for using the advanced combat tracker to validate his incapabilities, he transforms into a super dick. And we don't want super dicks in the game we love, right? And don't get me wrong, it is not gatekeeping, it's more like keeping the house clean from the dirt that had been brought in already. But this directly brings us to the other side of the medallion, the hardcore elitists, also known as arrogant dickheads. I always try to support hardcore players because most of them do love the game in at least the way I do, and tend to heavily support newcomers or new jobbers. If that is no common term already, I hereby want to introduce the term for people that switched over to a new job while having former knowledge on another one. But the issue and hardcore elitism comes from people that on one side demand you to play on their league and level, while intrinsically believing that nobody ever will. Doesn't make sense, right? It really doesn't, but somehow they want to point out the skill differences or whatever they claim it to be, to feel strengthened and empowered. And believe me, this will never happen in a friendly and polite manner. Or did any of you guys experience something like, "Hey little sprout, I'm so glad to have you in my party, so that the time we spend in this dungeon becomes a vastly longer adventure, helping with the fortification of our social engagement." Or something like, "Isn't it a sunny ray of fortune to not have killed this boss on the first run, so that we all can carry your feathery weight of DPS into another try to enjoy the encounter again?" I never heard something like that, and even I have received some very mean comments and chat messages. That could mean that I simply suck at this game even when teaching jobs to my viewers, which is actually true, but please don't tell others. Or it means that these kind of people are just represented in a bigger number, or at least they just speak up more often and more loudly. And even if they come up with good arguments and points to help you in getting better at the game, if they cannot deliver that message in a friendly and adequate tone, it is not helpful at all. As people tend to act defensively and will respond in resistance, that will naturally lead to more tension and conflict, also being harmful for people that are just in your group and want to go through the whole thing comfortably. So please, if you're dropping advice, make sure to drop it with flowers and chocolate. People don't like to be criticized on their after work evening, so you have to wrap up the punch in a smoothly cushioned punching glove to hit their face with facts and enlightenment, but hit it gently. And whatever camp may fuel the fire, you should turn it over to an ignition of a spark instead, and think, act, and communicate in a friendly and positive behavior. Your teammate may just have had a bad day, or could be distracted by answering the questions on his Twitch livestreams while failing at the game, which I do a lot. So above all that, remember your mother's words when we all were children. "Be nice to each other," she said. And this does also apply to the playful interaction we have inside of online games, chat forums, or erotic roleplay. Whatever feature you use inside of our massively multiplayer and user world, being polite and friendly will mostly lead to the same positive feedback. So always try to act only in accordance to that maxim from which you want to become a universal law. Thank you all for watching, and if you like this video or others on my channel, check out a very revealing video on the weekend, or hit me up on Twitch for clearing up all those philosophical questions about gaming and Final Fantasy. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and be nice to each other.